It's great to be with so many distinguished guests and honorees. And by the way, this is not your typical chicken dinner, huh? Buen provecho. I'm thankful to have my wife, Tori, in the audience. Hi, Tori. My little ones, Ben and Katie. And my parents are here, my aunt and others from Vieques. There's a lot of friends, family, colleagues that are here. Awesome team MSBA. I just drove back from the Mid-Atlantic Bar Conference where President Keith Trufer and I were meeting with delegations from the New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware, and DC bars. President Trufer is still there representing Maryland, and he sends his best wishes to our friends here at the Maryland Hispanic Bar Association. I want to start this evening by sharing how honored I am to serve as the Executive Director of the Maryland State Bar, an organization with a rich history and many distinguished leaders within its ranks. In that capacity, I speak to hundreds of attorneys, and I'm routinely in front of audiences. What these audiences don't know is that I was once a little boy who didn't speak any English. Although I was born in in Brooklyn, New York, we quickly moved to Carolina in Puerto Rico. Eventually, when I was somewhere between Ben and Katie's age, we moved again, this time to Slidell, Louisiana. Can I hear it for Slidell? That's what I thought. I remember sitting in class, feeling isolated and disconnected from what was happening around me. All I knew how to say, and my very first public speaking engagement, was when I raised my hand to say, "I don't speak English." That's all I knew how to say. This evening, I'm going to share some other personal details as I talk about two important concepts in my professional and personal life that I hope will help at least one person in this room. In this political climate and this environment, these two concepts are, I think, ever more important. The concepts are resilience and connectedness, and I'm going to talk about those. There are many forms of resilience. As we sit here this evening, the 7,000 or so who live in Vieques, a little island 7 miles off the coast of the main island of Puerto Rico, are still living without power. Just generators. What we're seeing in Puerto Rico, and this is not a political statement, after thousands of lives lost, is an amazing form of a people's resilience. But tonight, I'm going to be focusing on individual resilience. Individual resilience and the concept of connectedness or connections. As for resilience, the textbook definition is the capacity to recover quickly from difficulties. About 5 years ago, I experienced some symptoms and I went to a doctor. I was examined, then I was escorted in to have a sonogram done, and the doctor said something I hadn't heard before. "Victor, get dressed. Let's talk in my office." I'd never gone into a doctor's office with a desk and a picture of their family before. He said very quickly, "Victor, you have cancer." Resilience is that quality that allows some people to be knocked down by life and come back stronger than ever. Rather than letting failure overcome them and drain their resolve, they find a way to rise from the ashes. Psychologists have identified some of the factors that make someone resilient. Some of the factors that make someone resilient include attitude, optimism, the ability to regulate your emotions, and the ability to see failure as a form of helpful feedback. And I've gotten a lot of feedback in my career. Even after misfortune, resilient people are blessed with such an outlook that they are able to change course and soldier on. After an initial surgery to remove a growing tumor, I was given a choice. I could go straight to chemotherapy, or I could have surgery where they open you up, sample your lymph nodes to see if the cancer has spread. The goal of that surgery, which requires a 6-inch incision, is to avoid the need for chemo if the results come up clean. I actually went to Dr. Foster, a member of Lance Armstrong's cancer team in Indianapolis. I had the surgery. I now have a heck of a scar. My results from that surgery came back clean. I could barely walk, but I knew the cancer was gone. 2 months later, I went for my first post-operative x-ray, and they found 3 nodules on my lungs. I was told I had a 30% chance of not making it because the cancer had spread. 6 surgeries later, chemo, lungs rejecting drugs, months on steroids, I stand before you this evening, 3 years in remission. Research has shown that while some people seem to come by resilience naturally, those behaviors can be learned. It doesn't have to be a life-threatening event. It could be losing a client, losing a case, or any other setback. Whether you're going through a tough time now or not, I humbly suggest these 8 things help me, and I'm just going to share them with you this evening. The first is to find a sense of purpose in your life. In the face of crisis or tragedy, finding a sense of purpose can play an important role in your recovery. This might mean becoming involved in your community, cultivating your spirituality, or participating in activities that are meaningful to you. My purpose was my family. I'm an important provider for my family, and I knew that I needed to be there for them. I had to do everything in my power to beat cancer, surgeries, trips to the Mayo Clinic, Hopkins, Indy, Purdue. I would do all that I could, for that purpose was great for me, my family. The second was developing a strong social network. It's important to have people you can confide in. While simply talking about a situation with a friend or loved one won't make your troubles go away, it allows you to share your feelings, get support, receive positive feedback, and come up with possible solutions to your problems. The Maryland Hispanic Bar Association, the MSBA, don't discount these organizations and their value, not only in good times in your lives, but in times where you need to feel like it's going to be okay. You want to talk to someone, professionally or personally. For all those that are not in the room this evening, help them to understand why they should be part of what we're a part of. For you, recognize it takes others to help you succeed, and you succeed when you help others. The Maryland Hispanic Bar's mission statement includes this as one of its core purposes. Nurture yourself. When you're stressed, it can be all too easy to neglect your own needs. Don't try to solve problems with the same thinking that created them. Resilient people do not make the same mistake again and again. They're willing to be honest why they failed, and they take the time to think about what didn't work. This is true for individuals and organizations as well. Bars and associations have to adapt and not be constrained by the successes and routines of their past as they look to their future. It is true for an organization. It is true for each and every one of us. Keep growing. Stay optimistic. Life does not get easier or more forgiving. We get stronger. We get more resilient. Pick yourself up as many times as it takes. Resilience means understanding that failure is not falling down, but refusing to get up. They have the capacity to adapt successfully and the tenacity to never ever quit. Reward small wins. Keep giving. Even in the toughest times, resilient people find a way to care for others, because sometimes being selfless is the best way to discover your own strength. To make it through tough times takes resilience. It requires that we pay attention to the complexities of our own experiences, listen to our emotions, and be willing to learn from disappointment and failure, as well as success and motivation. So resilience is an essential concept in my opinion. The attitude, the approach, the state of mind. The second concept that I'll share this evening is connectedness, or your connections. That little boy who couldn't relate to those around him because a language barrier meant that he needed to develop his connectedness. And by the way, that's still a work in progress for me. On connectedness, Sandra Day O'Connor said, "We don't accomplish anything in this world alone. And whatever happens is the result of the whole tapestry of one's life and all the weavings of individual threads from one to another that create something. Connectedness is defined as a feeling of belonging to or having affinity with a particular person or group. It's about partnering, trust, being part of something bigger than yourself. For those of you that might be familiar with StrengthsFinders, those with connectedness as a strength have the unique ability to connect the dots between what is happening in the here and now with deep personal meaning. People with the strength of connectedness have a unique way of seeing events, the people around them, the world, and they're able to instinctively recognize that everything that happens is caused by something else. There is a ripple that connects people and events together. A person with connectedness can build a bridge of understanding, weave connections of meaning that others can understand. People with connectedness see events, interpersonal interactions, and emotional elements all coming together to create a beautiful picture that would never be formed alone. They are often weavers of dynamic stories. It's an important quality. By the way, I've been accused of being Mr. Modern, Mr. Technology. Dr. Ned Hallowell warns that people who are highly driven to achieve while relying on purely electronic forms of communication can neglect making real connections and become isolated and somewhat depressed. How awesome is it what's happening here tonight? This is what the Maryland Hispanic Bar Association is about. The spirit that's in this room, the camaraderie, the faces that smile, the shaking of hands. A strong social connection, by the way, strengthens your immune system. Who knew? Research shows that genes impacted by loneliness also code for immune function and inflammation. Take my word for it. I've had successes. The MSBA conducted a nationwide search, 60 candidates all across the U.S., and they chose me. I'm honored. I've had success. I convinced a board of attorneys in D.C. to buy land and build a $77 million headquarters. I did negotiate a joint venture in London and incentives that enabled a 400-person staff team to move to a new state. But I've also had challenges. I've been told by a doctor that I may not make it because my cancer had spread. I felt the sting of being an outsider who doesn't speak the same language. The sting of thinking that they speak the language, but we don't speak it well enough. I believe the two simple yet powerful concepts of resilience and connectedness have been critical for me. You know, a few months ago, I was thinking about this moment as I was thinking about tonight. After, I would say, about 3 or 4 months raising my hand to say, I don't speak English, I had mustered enough will, enough courage, and enough language skills to tell my very first joke to those little kids around me. And I waited, and they laughed. And it was that very moment that my journey of connectedness started. Connecting to others, being part of a tribe. Little did I realize that 40 years or so later, I would be sharing this story with you. I hope that you think about these suggestions for resilience, the power of connectedness. It's helped me because that little boy from Carolina, who didn't speak English, now views connectedness to others as a key to his success. We should all be thankful to be part of a tribe, of a community, of this community, this evening, made possible by the Maryland Hispanic Bar Association. Thank you to all the past, present, and future leaders of this organization. Thanks to all of you for being here, and thanks for listening to my few words. Good night.